every state is so different.
Yes.
Depending on also where geographically in top, bottom, middle, left, right. It just varies so much.
Geography, top, bottom, left, right. We go to
North,
the
south,
left of
east, west,
Europe.
middle. Hi,
Hello,
I'm Kai,
I'm Alice.
and together we're the Alakai Project. So, firstly, welcome to our channel, and if you're a returning visitor, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at what is it? What Brits ask about America. That's right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's a Lost in the Pond video, so this is from
Good old Lawrence.
good old Lawrence's point of view.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, questions that he gets asked.
Yes.
But we'll see if that would be something that we'd be interested in asking or learning, or something we don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out, I guess. Is he right? Does he know what he's talking about?
Maybe.
We'll find out.
Before we begin, though, guys, just before you hit the play, we'd just like to thank you for your ongoing support. I know we've been uploading a lot of our older videos recently. We finally got through those. We apologise for all the notifications that you guys have had to deal with, probably from videos you've already seen. That has stopped now, so it's all new content. And it should be same old from here, really, isn't it?
Yes. Hopefully, no more mistakes.
Yeah, I'll try not to delete the videos again. That was a disaster, to be honest. So one I'd rather avoid.
Yes.
But without further ado, let's begin.
Let's begin.
Got this?
And
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a
Yes.
quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to questions. Specifically, questions that British people ask me about the United States and its people.
I'm Lawrence Brown, and this video is sponsored by Squarespace.
If you've been paying attention, you may remember that last week I did the exact reverse of this video, when I looked at 7 questions that Americans always ask me about Britain and its people. And as somebody who's lived in the United States now for ages, I do indeed get a lot of questions from people back home, such as, "Ooh, Lawrence, do you think you'll ever develop an American accent?" Or, "Why is Arkansas pronounced Arkansas, not Arkansas? I did a YouTube short about it already." And so I'm drawing on all of my expertise of living in the United States to answer questions like these today, so that maybe all of the British friends and family members that are asking these questions finally shut the up. That said, I really like people, and since we're on our way to 1 million subscribers, if you're not yet one of them, do that now! In the meantime, here are 7 of the most common questions that I get asked by British people about America and Americans. Number 1, why do Americans call their sport football when they don't use their feet? Well, firstly, that's not entirely true. I mean, I think we've all seen it where a player takes the ball, puts it down, kicks it, in slow motion, that might just be in the movies, and everybody goes crazy, so it must be an important part of the sport. But secondly, I did some Googling, and I found out that it's called football because of the sports from which it's derived. See, back in the 19th century, Britain was developing a series of ball games. One of them, famously, was soccer, or to give it its full name, association football, and this was called association football because they had to differentiate it from something else called rugby football. Rugby football did indeed go by the name of rugby football, and in fact sometimes does to this day, despite the fact that they too don't use their feet unless they're kicking it over a giant H or down the field, or maybe some other ways. And American style football basically took its cues from rugby football, and the name stuck. Alright, this question I get a lot. Why is American bread so sweet? And we have to make a bit of a distinction here, because the bread that we're talking about is the kind of store-bought bread that you get in supermarkets that are used for sandwiches. And it's true, one of my earliest experiences in this country was raiding my mother-in-law's bread bin when I was hungry late at night. And I was really excited because, as everybody knows, there's nothing better than bread and butter at midnight. That's just me, right? But it was really sweet. It was almost like I was having a late night dessert. And basically, this additional sweetness on American bread comes down to one word: added sugar. That's 2 words. And it's true. As somebody who gave up added sugar a couple of years ago, I was shocked to find just how much added sugar was found in American bread. 2 grams of added sugar, which is 4%. 3 grams of added sugar, 6%. Now, there's a couple of things.
It's quite a lot of sugar, isn't it?
yeah, and we've learned from our comments, especially on our PB&J video, that is not necessarily a true representation because the bread is different and sweeter.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
But also,
why.
I think peanut butter is sweeter. There's a little bug. I'm going to get it. Okay, I got it. Yeah, sorry. There's the peanut butter. I think is sweeter than ours as well.
Yes.
Maybe America just likes sweeter things. Maybe just in general. I don't know. Because I think there are some other variation things that are just generally sweeter than our comparison. But
interesting.
Different. Anyway.
Added sugar, which is 4%. 3 grams of added sugar, 6%. Now, there's a couple of things to add here beyond sugar. Number one, the addition of added sugar is supposedly intentional in order to prolong the life of the bread. And pound for pound, I have found that American bread takes a bit longer to turn green. I was a student in England, so I've got a lot of experience in this field. But the other thing to point out is not all American bread is sweet. Since giving up added sugar, I've mostly turned to sourdough or rye, some of which have 0 added sugar, which tastes great with some strawberry jam, which I've just realised has added sugar.
And something else that's really sweet, my new and improved website at lostinthepond.com. As my YouTube channel grows ever nearer to 1 million subscribers, it only makes sense that I have a central hub for all things pond. And now, thanks to Squarespace, I do.
In 2024, we've been rebuilding our website from scratch using some of Squarespace's key features. Like, for example, its seamlessly integrated blog pages so that you can read my words in my voice with the added benefit of not having to look at my face. And coming soon, for the first time ever, we'll be rolling out a monthly Lost in the Pond newsletter, made simple by Squarespace's email campaigns feature.
Anyway, if you need a website to showcase your passions and/or dreams, you can try Squarespace for free for 14 days. Get your free trial at squarespace.com today, and once your website is ready for liftoff, go to squarespace.com/lostinthepond and you'll save 10% on your first website or domain purchase. The link is in my description below.
Number 3, are you scared of all the guns? And I would say not all of them. I used to love the Super Soaker 5000. And in fact, it's a weird one, this, because while guns are definitely used to kill more people in America than they are in Britain, I don't particularly live in fear of them because number 1, I'm an optimist. Some would say a blind optimist. And number 2, so long as you stay in the right part of town and or don't become a member of a gang, there's a good chance that you can go 16 years living in America without seeing gun violence firsthand. Now, that's not to say, of course, that America hasn't had many well-documented mass shooting events. And these, of course, horrific as they are, paint a picture that there are shootings on every corner of every city at every second of every day. I don't want you to come here with that false impression, because otherwise you won't ever leave your hotel. And I can hear my Uncle Toby right now, but Lawrence, there are 30,000 gun-related deaths in America every year. And that is a big number, but you have to keep in mind that, unfortunately, over half of those are suicides. But even though this is a very serious subject, I wanted to answer it, because while there clearly are people in this country who will pick up a gun and do the unthinkable, your chances of dying in this way during a given year, never mind a 2-week visit, are approximately 1 in 32,000. So don't worry too much and just be vigilant. Okay, can we get back to the comedy stuff now? Thanks. The next question. Oh, get this all the time. Do Americans think you know the Queen? No, because she's dead. But also, despite this being a kind of stereotype of Americans, I've received this question, or a question along these lines, precisely once. I was in a training class back when I worked in a call centre, and in those call centre training classes, you get a big mishmash of many different types of people. And I was put with this one fellow who was weirdly obsessed with my accent, who kept bombarding me with questions, one of which was, why do you call soccer football? Happens in reverse. And his question was something along the lines of, did you used to live near the Queen? And even though I don't think he meant it in this way, I suppose relatively speaking I did, because I lived in London. She lived in London. We were like buddies. But I got the sense that he meant, did you live in the same apartment complex? And the thought of the Queen paying rent is quite laughable because she's dead.
Too soon, Lawrence. Too soon. Come on. It's not been that long.
There's so many bugs in here. We've had the door open because it's finally a bit of summer.
We had our first summer mid-July and it's baking, so we thought, let's cool the house down. So
Yeah,
we
just open all the windows.
turn all the lights on, and all the bugs are like, woof, like just swarming to the blooming lights.
So yeah, we apologize for the bugs, and obviously with our filming lights on, they're just attracted to this area.
I love Lawrence's sense of humour, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a very British sense of humour, which obviously
we get it.
Us, we get it. We like it. But yeah, I don't know, the whole Queen situation. Now the King. Do you live next to the King? Oh, I wish we were in Buckingham Palace or at Windsor, living near.
I would happily polish his shoes, to be honest. I'm sure it'd pay lovely. I could deal with that. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Queen paying rent is quite laughable because she's dead. Why is it called the World Series when only Americans play? And once again, that is completely and utterly a little bit false, because it's not just American teams. There's a Canadian one as well. And secondly, I need to dispel a myth. For the longest time, it was believed that the baseball competition's name came from the fact that they were sponsored by the New York World Telegram newspaper. The assertion being that they took the word world, try saying that after 4 whiskeys, and named it that with utterly no pretension of being a global competition. But that theory has since been debunked. Instead, the real origin of the name is this. In 1903, the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates challenged his counterpart at the Boston Red Sox to what he dubbed a World Championship Series, because at the time the Pirates were the best team in the National League and the Red Sox were the best team in the American League. And why the National League and the American League don't mean the same thing, I'll never know. But it seems like he used it ironically and it sort of just stuck and then evolved into the World Series. There is, of course, a baseball competition that does include different countries, and that is the World Baseball Classic, which is sort of like a dime store version of the FIFA World Cup, but with baseball. Why do American tourists in Britain tell you the state they're from before they name their country? And I too have experience with this, because when I met my American wife over in England, my first words to her were, "Hi, I'm Lawrence. I was named after the actor Laurence Olivier. Isn't that impressive?" But my second words to her were, "Where are you from?" To which she answered, "Indiana." And I've never asked her about that. Maybe she said Indiana because I...
You think that's because I say most, I'm going to say this loosely because I don't know statistics, but most Americans tend to travel internally. So when they come across
someone they don't know,
when they come across a stranger, it's generally another American from another part of the America. For lack of a better word.
I don't know if that's why.
I feel like that, for me, that would make sense, though. You know, like you don't think, because it's not a thought process, because, you know, more often than not, I do think Americans generally travel internally rather than internationally. Obviously, there's plenty of, sorry, I kicked the table. There's plenty of exceptions, but maybe that would make sense because, that's where the state I'm from.
They're just used to saying
it's just like the first thing.
USA.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, you guys let us know what is the reason that, because it's we've heard of that before. It's quite a well-known thing. Or
it could also be that, you know, America's just that popular. Everyone knows the states. If you say your state, people just assume it's America anyway. You know, oh, I'm from California. Oh, California's a state, right? Yeah, just checking. But you know, oh, I'm from California. I'm from Iowa. I'm from Idaho.
Yeah, you would think that when you go somewhere abroad and people ask you, "Oh, where are you from?" you would say your country rather than anything else. But
then again, I mean, you know, the American accent kind of gives it away anyway, right? We already...
I don't know. I'm really bad with accents, so I wouldn't necessarily say I can distinguish between an American and a Canadian, for example.
That is a fair point. I would probably struggle there. But then, you know, it's the same for in Europe for me. Like, if you got a whole bunch of Europeans together, I would probably be able to maybe identify a few. Like, the French are pretty distinctive. The Germans are very
And the Spanish, they're very distinctive as well.
Yeah, but you can mix them up with Portuguese, potentially. No offence intended. But you see what I mean? Like, there's a lot of Slavic countries. I would struggle to identify, you're from Poland or... Wait, it's not
Russia. Or...
Poland is Slavic, isn't it?
I'm not
sure. Actually, it's not, is it? It's not. My bad.
I think they were.
This is why I don't do geography, because I get it all wrong, and then I probably end up offending people. So, swiftly moving on.
forget what you said.
Just scratch that.
Yeah. So we don't know why.
No.
You guys let us know. Why do you think that is? It is quite funny.
Yeah,
it's not offensive at all. I mean, I don't see why that's an issue and why people say, "Oh, why do Americans do this?"
No, I think it's just like for me, that's just a logical reason, because obviously you travel a lot internally. Everyone's from everywhere, right?
Yeah. And because, I mean, I would automatically know. Obviously, if they tell me the state, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, all right, I know what that is. It's fine." Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's move on.
I assumed from her accent that she was from the United States, but actually, when I asked her it, I remember thinking, well, you could be Canadian. I could end up looking like a right numpty if I assume your Americanness. But equally, for those of us who have a bit of geographical nous, I know from the answer Indiana that she is from the United States. The problem is, not everybody in Britain knows all of the 50 states. Not everybody in America does, come to that. So I suppose in some ways it is kind of weird, but then on the other hand, I think Americans do carry a little bit of pride in their roots, as in where they came from, not their hair, although in my wife's case, both. And so maybe it's a manifestation of that. It's sort of like when Americans go around wearing their college jumpers / sweaters, because I think it might be to Americans a status symbol. I've no idea actually why they do that. Sorry, I've just made most of that up. Let me know in the comments why you do it, if you do. Actually, there's a decent chance that you don't, because of this. Why don't many Americans own passports? Well, as I said in a video that I did all about this a few years ago, the answer is multifaceted.
Firstly, while only 42% of Americans own a passport compared to 86% of Brits, significantly more Americans these days do own a passport than they did 30 years ago, which was approximately when I first started hearing about this stereotype. And secondly,
there's this perception that America is so huge and packed with variety that you could just do all of your traveling here. And while that isn't necessarily an idea that I subscribe to, it is one that many Americans do. And because arguably way more Americans than Brits have family members and friends that live 1,000 miles away in the same country, sometimes in order to see them that necessitates that they take a holiday within the country. But it's not cheap. You know, domestic flights can get up to $1,000. And so that would be one of the other reasons that a lot of Americans don't travel internationally, is they simply can't afford it. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, Lawrence. But isn't it also down to a lack of curiosity on the part of Americans? And I think it would be hard to argue that there isn't an element of that. But that just comes down to what they're exposed to. If you compare the news cycles of both Britain and America, the BBC reports on countries from all over the world, even countries that don't have oil. How mad is that? Whereas when America provides international reports, it's usually on countries that they have a vested interest in due to their foreign policy. So I think America just isn't exposed to other countries as much, and this is heightened of course by the fact that they are bordered only by Mexico and Canada. If you go over to Britain, we're bordered by the sea, but then the rest of Europe with all of the countries that come with that. Now, that's not to say that no Americans travel abroad, otherwise I wouldn't have met my wife and or moved to the United States and started this very channel. So I'm glad she did. Well, if I've learned anything today, it's that on YouTube you can talk about guns and bread in the same video. But I've also learned that I didn't share housing facilities with the Queen. Let me know in the comments what you've learned today. And if you've not had a chance to watch the first part in this series, 7 questions that Americans always ask me about Brits and British people, you'll watch that video next. In the meantime, goodbye.
Yeah, he mentioned...
Let's remove that.
He mentioned the other video.
It sounds... So yeah, just on that topic, it sounds like... So the last one was... So it sounds like it's going to be a rolling series, so maybe that's something we can look into. It might be nice. Yeah, see if you guys enjoy that sort of content. And there's a fly on the camera randomly. It's now gone. So yeah, that was interesting. There was some interesting things in there, which is quite nice. And I suppose it does. I must admit, I do ask some of those questions as well.
You do.
So yeah, it's. I think with regards to not so much the naming. Well, I suppose it is to do with name. We kind of know that Americans generally fly internally. And I think, you know, based on what we've seen through some of the videos so far, you know, you guys do kind of have everything.
And there's a lot to see.
There's so much diversity.
Exactly. It's so big. It's so vast that...
Every state is so different.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
Depending on also where geographically, in like, you know, top, bottom, middle, left, right. It just varies so much.
Geography, top, bottom, left, right. We go to the left of Europe and to the top of America.
My bad.
Okay, that was fun. It was interesting to see what Lawrence gets asked.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was a nice one, wasn't it? I think we just waffled on too much about some random stuff. Yeah, I think we'll stop waffling now, guys. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and it just really helps support our channel, helps us grow, and obviously motivates us to create more content. But yeah, other than that, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye for now.